What's up, everybody? How's it going? We're just gonna give it a couple more minutes. I'm gonna let some more people trickle on in. It might be more like 8 o'clock or 8:02, 8:03 before we actually get started. Thanks for stopping by, though. I can get my cords untangled. I figure this is probably as good of a start time as any. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to stream number 2. I decided to do it on YouTube this time instead of Twitch. It was recommended to me, and it made a little bit more sense that I do it on here than on Twitch. There's more people on here that watch me consistently, and it's harder to get people to switch platforms, so that made sense to me. So in case any of you hadn't already seen my previous stream or the recording of the stream that's on the channel, I'm currently playing through Sonic Generations right now, but I'm playing it with the Modern Adventure Physics mod that I created. It just kind of improves Sonic's turning and overall control when he's not boosting, just to kind of bring it more in line with some of the 3D Sonic games that had come before. Just a little bit better overall turning and controls that I missed a lot, so I went ahead and did my best to implement them. So, now that the pre-roll, rigmarole, whatever roll is all taken care of, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to do my best to answer any chat that you guys bring up as well. But I'm going to be going back and forth between two screens, so if I miss something, if you guys are trying to say something and I miss you, be patient with me. I'm not the best. Not the best at this stuff. I'm just watching my screen now to make sure that it flipped over. And in addition to the Modern Adventure mod, I'm also using the Sonic Adventure 2 model mod. I'm very sorry, I don't actually know the name of the creator off the top of my head. I'm actually going to find that because I want to credit them for their good job. Let's see. Creator. That mod. Say 2HD mod. Author Daku Neko, Lyoko Blight, Ultimate Dark Man 2010, Joe TE Strikes Back, and iGamer. They are the ones responsible for the model mod. I got a few others on there too. I've got some that come kind of default with the mod loader, like the longer tail things, longer blue trail. I mean, things like that. So got a few different things going on there, but the primary ones here are the SA2 model mod and then the Modern Adventure mod. I just wanted to do my due diligence there before we got started. One more quick thing. Is anyone trying to chat and their chats aren't appearing? Let's see if there's anything I can do about that. Hello, Unsaid Haiku. Hello, Callum Sparrow. And hello, Monocryptic. Welcome. Awesome. Thank you, Seth. Looks like everything is going well. All right, let's get started for real. Sorry for the stop and go at the beginning. If any of you hadn't already seen my previous stream, just trust me when I say that this is already going 1 million times better than the last one. And considering that this one is nothing special to begin with, that's a little depressing, but I'm going to try to do as good as I can moving forward. So in the last stream, I just kind of went through the classic stages, and at the first boss now, the Death Egg robot. And just to kind of keep consistent with that one, I'm probably just going to be skipping cutscenes because it's Sonic Generations and the plot doesn't matter. This one's pretty cool though, so I might just hold on to this one. Destiny Lord is asking me if I'm optimistic for the future of Sonic or if Sonic is going to die. In my opinion, Sonic's not going to die. I think that he is going to continue to become less and less relevant over the course of time, but that really, I think that kind of goes along with the way that the video game industry as a whole goes. I don't think that it really has anything to do necessarily with the quality or lack of quality of Sonic. It factors in, but the main thing is just the fact that the industry itself has changed so much since Sonic was created that he would be in decline regardless, I'm just not doing very well. Oh. Spin Dash exists. Wow. So, yeah, no, Sonic is kind of in a place where he is a legacy character now. And legacy is his main selling point. That's kind of why we're seeing the continued use of nostalgia pandering. Not something that I like specifically, but depending on who you ask, it's neither a good nor a bad thing. Because new doesn't necessarily mean more successful either. I would like to believe that good would make a difference, though. Which is why I'm kind of hoping that the gameplay itself gets back on its feet. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm a little distracted. Oof. I'm not very good to begin with. Let's see here. Come on. Nope. Alright, let's try it this time. There we go. No. My timing is really off. No, are you serious? I cannot get that timing right. Just watch for the tell. Oh, don't try to be smart, Kazi. It's gonna cause you nothing but pain. It's definitely my least favorite boss in this game. Oh, no, wait. I forgot the time meter existed. So, second least favorite boss in the game. Not because it's hard. I'm just bad. I mostly dislike it just because it's monotonous. But Perfect Chaos in this game is fantastic. It's about as good of a reimagining of that fight as you could ask for. Overpowered spin dash for the win. Whoa, whoa. Where am I? Sorry, I'm generally going to be pretty quiet on the bosses. Just to focus a little bit more. I'm going to try to make it a little more entertaining before things go crazy. Finally. I'm making this way harder than it needs to be. Can't tell if I'm overthinking it or not thinking hard enough. Swiping motion. Come on, respawn. Respawns at the worst possible time. Are you serious? Oh boy. I picked the worst possible place for me to start a stream, I think. Because this is just embarrassing. Wait it out. Oh boy. It's like... Great. Woo. Man. Personal best. That's what I'm talking about. So we got a few more people. I was looking away. Mikester Paltos, hello. DBZ Fan 22, hi. Gonzalo T, yo. What do you reckon are the chances of a Sonic Adventure remake being announced at South by Southwest? Slim to none. I think that it is going to happen, but I don't think that it's far enough along yet to show. I'd love to be proven wrong, but if it's going to happen, if it's the next big game that's being worked on, I wouldn't expect anything until later in the year as an announcement. Destiny Lord says, Kaze, we probably shouldn't expect a super ambitious, huge Infinity War level modern Sonic game in the future. Most Sonic games in the future will likely be Forces length and quality. Well, I don't want to resign myself to that, because that would be depressing if everything was at Forces level of quality forever. I'd like to believe that there's a little bit of hope. I'd like to think that Sonic Team or whoever is going to be dealing with... Oh, I also was playing the Sonic 06 mod here, and it replaced some of the videos. The mod replaces videos, and that was one of them. I prefer that one to the tutorial video anyway. But yeah, if we just kind of resign ourselves to all the games being like Forces, I mean, we would not be Sonic fans anymore. A lot of us wouldn't. I gotta be able to put a little bit of hope into improvement. Woo! I definitely think that the adventure levels in Generations are the best. And we'll definitely be getting to my favorite level in this game here before too long. If you follow me on Twitter, you already probably know which level that is, but we'll get to it when we get to it. I don't know why, but for some reason it feels like the adventure levels in this game just really put that just extra little bit of love in there. I don't know if it's just... I mean, like, by this point, I think that Sonic Team was probably like, you know, we're putting the classic stuff in there just as kind of a... out of necessity. But the adventure ones are old enough that they're probably remembered fondly, but they're young enough that, you know, it's not going to be like a complete reimagining like it is in the classic stages. In the classic stages, all you had was the X and Y axis for them to kind of base their decisions off of. This one, you had kind of a basic template, and then you just kind of cranked it all up to 11. Cranking it up to 11 doesn't always work, but in the case of these levels, I'd say that they accomplished it pretty successfully. Woo! Right. Up and down and all around. Something is amiss. Primarily, my ability to aim myself. There we go. Oops. Yeah, in case you didn't watch that previous stream, shock of shocks, I'm really not great at Sonic games. As much as I love them, I'm not very good at them. Unlike some YouTube personalities, though, I don't pin that on the games. Not gonna name names. Seth Davis, hello. Shrooms, hey. Seth, I'm neither going to confirm nor deny that your guess at my favorite level is correct. But you're probably right. Nintendo Gamer Chris, hello. Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of how this mod deals with classic Sonic. A couple people in the last stream said that they liked it, though, but not me. Said it looks a little too big. Sonic Riders is interesting. I like that game from what I remember of it, but it has been a really long time since I played it. I probably haven't played it since maybe 07 or 08. Woo! Wow. Rolling around at the speed of sound. Having trouble with ramps today. Pretty much everything. The mod actually has kind of messed with Sonic's launch physics in the boarding stages. So that's kind of why you're seeing him get some extra air. But once you get into the main area, smooth sailing. Literally the smoothest sailing for me. I'm self-conscious about pretty much every project that I put out there, but this is one of those ones that I genuinely don't think that I ever want to go back to Vanilla Gen's physics after making this. It definitely may not be for everybody, but it definitely kind of brings Generations up to a level that I prefer. Kind of what I believe that the modern titles should have been doing all along, because modern titles really did kind of sacrifice low to mid speed maneuverability and control for that high speed control. And I don't think that it needs to be a compromise. I think that there's a kind of a middle ground that can be accomplished. Over an instant. And as much as I love this level, now is the time where I can kind of turn off my brain a little bit. My current plan for streaming is probably just to do, you know, just kind of the vanilla Generations levels for now. And if any of you show interest in seeing more, I might be willing to do, you know, the Unleashed Project or Project 06. Both of which I would be using modern adventure physics simply because shameless plug, and also because I really do enjoy playing with it. I have seen the Infinity Engine. It looks good. Looks like a really good kind of generation style engine. I really wanted to the other day give it a shot. I was looking for the playable build, but the YouTube channel that was hosting it, that of the creator, looks like he took the playable build down, and I don't know if that's because he's taking up active development of it again, or if it was taken down by the storage website. But for whatever reason, I could not get a hold of it, but I would like to. It looks great. DBZ Fan 22 saying that in Unleashed, he pretty much had tank controls when not boosting in the daytime stages. He felt better in control in the hub worlds, ironically. I agree. It's kind of frustrating. And the Werehog, actually, his low-speed controls were great. It's just the problem is that he only had low-speed controls. Another Sonic 06 one. Again, I gotta kind of clean up my mods folder. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't finished 06 Sonic story. Woo! my absolute favorite level of the game. People didn't guess. There's, I mean, tons of multiple paths. It's a very, very solid length. A lot of skill-oriented platforming, a lot of skill-oriented challenge. It's a gorgeous level to look at. It's a gorgeous level to listen to. I just love everything about this. Like, if we're going to see more boost formula, I mean, this is the measuring stick by which I will judge all future Sonic levels. It's either better than this, as good as this, or worse than this. Oops. Timing, timing, timing. Woo. Get good, Kazi. I remember playing through this level for the first time and just freaking out how huge it was. And, you know, I think that it first time took maybe 5 or 6 minutes just because I was kind of in awe of what I was seeing. You can get through it a lot faster than that, but sometimes you just gotta kind of stop and smell the roses. And again, that's kind of what I enjoyed about the adventure formula, was kind of more emphasis on doing that. Even though, I mean, those levels were a lot more linear than this. There was just kind of it didn't feel like the game itself was encouraging you just to kind of go nonstop. There were opportunities to kind of catch your breath. Specifically with Adventure 1, Adventure 2 definitely kind of... I kind of consider Adventure 2 the proto-modern game. It's kind of like Adventure 2 was what the modern games would become. Oops. Just kind of... They refined it as they went along. Automated it a little bit more. For better and for worse. Modern isn't my favorite formula, but I think that you have to just kind of acknowledge that it definitely is the most refined formula. It's definitely the most consistent in quality. Because, I mean, even Forces, even though I really dislike that game, there's nothing mechanically wrong with it. Everything that's wrong with Forces is purely down to intentional decisions made to make the level straight line zones, to make the story kind of handling it the way that they did. Just kind of being unfocused, inclusion of classic Sonic. I mean, like, I have no evidence to believe this, but since Mike Stirpaltos was kind of bringing it up, you know, the revival of the adventure formula, I want to see that return too. I think that it's time. I think that Sega's continued kind of focus on nostalgia is at the point now where they can go back that far and it can be nostalgic, but I think that it still has enough value that, you know, fans would appreciate it too. You know, just so long as they work on trying to come up with some unique ideas. All original levels would be nice, an original plot. That'd be nice. For some reason I thought I could hit that spring. Probably shouldn't have tried. Could have ended poorly. The next video I have in the works is actually going to be adventure oriented, though it's not going to be about the actual adventure gameplay. It's going to be about another facet of the adventure titles that people tend to remember fondly. But that's all I'm going to say for now. It's still early days, but I'm getting it done. I'm collecting footage for it now. Oops. And I have no I have no insider knowledge or understanding of that stuff, but if I'm being perfectly honest, I would not be shocked to find out that maybe Evening Star, Taxman's new development company that was formed from, the Mania team and others, I would not be shocked to find out that they are working on an Adventure HD remake. And that's just a gut feeling. I don't have any evidence to back that up. Something about that just kind of feels right to me. It wouldn't shock me. I just think that it's kind of it'll probably just be a point of Sega to keep core 3D Sonic titles internally developed instead of going to an outside developer. Even though at this point I feel like, that team is more of a second party developer instead of a third. It makes sense to me that at the very least the development team will remain an internal Sega team. Even if they may bring in, the Mania team to work on the game as well. I think Evening Star is probably going to be working on Mania sequels or, classic titles and remakes. And honestly, if they're the ones working on the Adventure remake, that is where I feel like is the most safety for seeing an Adventure remake done right. Hey, what's up, Remy? Yeah. Something that, I've heard on Twitter a lot is, people are concerned that that team doesn't have any experience with 3D. But again, it's 3D, yes, it's more difficult to develop for. That said, I think that you're kind of those people are underselling the skill set that those developers have. Like, I have the utmost confidence that if they were given the reins of a 3D Sonic title, they not only would do a good job, they would probably do, the best job that we've received. If they were given the proper amount of time and the proper resources to make it happen. Which is kind of why the adventure titles seem like a good fit to send their way. Because I feel like a modern title would just be kind of too resource and time intensive to have on such a small team. But I might be underselling them too. It's very possible that they could be way larger than my perception of them. Because I'm just kind of thinking of them in terms of how I thought of them as in Mania, developing Mania. And for some reason, I just picture that as very small, even though if you watch those credits, they are not small. But the core team on that seemed very, very tight-knit. Oh. Truck. I like to imagine that the gun truck doesn't have a driver. It's just a sentient truck that just has this huge vendetta. Like, you pissed him off in Sonic Adventure 2, and from then on he just desires the blood of a hedgehog. And I love how it's kind of constantly hunting you in this level. Oh, whoa. Mighty and Ray. I was hearing a theory about how Mighty and Ray didn't actually appear in Sonic Mania and that they were just a kind of a Phantom Ruby illusion. And I kind of buy that. I think that's possible, but you never know. It's possible that they kind of were just like, it would just be really fun to have Mighty and Ray in there. And if anything, they're canon in Mania Adventures, and I'm fine with that. I love Mania Adventures. Ooh. That's a good point. Going from Spark to Fark, talking about Lake Feppard, he is probably one of the most talented people I've ever seen come out of the Sonic community, simply because, like, people forget how quickly he cranked out before and after the sequel. And then he did, you know, the kind of re-releases with the soundtracks. Sonic Chrono Adventure, was that the one? Which, you know, people don't remember as well, but that was kind of a very interesting take on the classic formula with its, you know, compass direction system and stuff. So I'm very much looking to Fark. And Callum Sparrow was saying doesn't like kind of Iizuka's style of breathing down people's necks. We don't know that he's doing that. We really don't know his management style. You know, I don't like to kind of talk about the inner workings of Sega simply because we have zero idea of what that is actually like, and considering the nature of the game industry, specifically the Japanese game industry, we probably never will. Iizuka, and I've made this mistake in the past, I definitely have, but Iizuka is just, you know, the most public face of Sonic Team. That doesn't necessarily mean that he is the reason either for all of the highs or all of the lows of the Sonic series. So I'm not gonna put the impetus of the problem on him. I don't think that would be fair. If anything, I'm more inclined to believe that it's kind of more of a systemic problem with Sega as a company than the issue of any one given member of the development team or the production team. And inversely to modern Seaside Hill, classic Seaside Hill is definitely my least favorite. Well, okay, not my least favorite classic Sonic level in this game. But it's no Hydrocity Zone. Hydro City. I've always said Hydrocity. I'm willing to accept that that's probably wrong, but old habits die hard. You're good. Even though I'm not particularly fond of this level, it's still well designed. I mean, all the classic levels in this game are well designed. It's just classic Sonic is not what I come to a modern Sonic title for. And hopefully, you know, Sonic Team will acknowledge that for future titles as well. Just whoa. I'm fine you know, I even though you know I clearly am a fan of the idea of consolidation. If we are to be well, why are those one hit kills? If we are going to be sticking with the classic and the modern tiers, um, I would just well. So why didn't that kill me that time? Is it because of the angle? But if we are going to have both of them, I would just prefer them to be both kind of doing their own thing, because Classic Sonic is, doing his best when he is, with the Mania team and when he's in a pure Classic Sonic experience. And Modern is best in, situations like, even though I'm not a huge fan of colors, I mean, just when it is just focused, like the Sonic series benefits from singular focus in its games. When it tries to do a ton of different things, or when it's trying to just do one specific thing but not going all the way with it, it gets messy. No, I'm not falling asleep. I'm just kind of in kind of a droney mood, I guess. Zachary Official is asking me if I think that the boost formula is going to continue in the next mainline game after Forces getting mixed reception. More so than any other time, being a Sonic fan, I genuinely feel like I have no idea what the next mainline Sonic title is going to be. If it's not a remake, then I can honestly see it going either way. I think that there would be benefit to doing the adventure formula instead of a modern formula, or at the very least a hybrid. I think it's that time. I think Forces was an experiment in creating the most streamlined and efficient development cost game out there. I think that it was just intended to see if they could make a game with a skeleton crew with the least amount of time possible to maximize profit. That's just my theory. And I think that the modern formula allows for that a little bit more. And I think just because of how Forces turned out, I don't want to see them do that. If it means they're going to continue to make Forces styled modern titles, I'd rather just go back to adventure. I'd honestly rather adventure anyway. Marzaki Fox, thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm a huge fan of your work in Utopia. I can't wait to see more of that game. Let's see here. What should I do? Challenge. I played a little bit of Sonic Robo Blast 2. As far as, kind of legacy fan games go, that is really impressive. Not necessarily my cup of tea, though. It's customization. The amount of customization that you can have in that game is pretty cool. Oops, missed it completely. Up and down, all around. Since I'm streaming in front of an audience, I feel like I'm kind of obligated to, play it like traditional Generations. But I think that when I get back to the the full 3D areas. I think I'm just gonna play it more like an adventure game, not boosting as much, because that's kind of how I prefer to play the game. I think that the boost in Advance 2 had a lot more potential than got explored. I think that if we were to ever, if we do see the boost again, I would like to see it kind of recontextualized a little bit. It could afford to be, it can afford to be nerfed a little bit. You know, in Advance 2, boost mode was more than anything, it was a reward. It wasn't an actual, oops. It wasn't an actual, what would you call it? A move set, really. You know, it was a reward for playing well, and I think that the biggest issue with how it was implemented in Advance 2 is simply the fact that it was just kind of a reward for reward's sake, as opposed to like having functionality. But then I think that you know, when Sonic Team got a hold of it for Unleashed and beyond, I think that they kind of took it a little too far in the opposite direction. And again, with, you know, everything, like, there's no inherently bad ideas that you see in the Sonic series. It's just down to kind of execution. I don't want to do any more in this level. I'm not really a completionist when it comes to the challenge stages and generations. I kind of just do the ones that keep me moving more. Though when I was testing out this mod, I went through all of the modern challenge stages just to make sure that nothing was entirely broken. And if you watch my last stream, you can tell that there were some that were broken, but did my best to fix them up. For the most part, there weren't too many issues. A lot of them were just kind of similar issues to what happens in the main stages as well. Sorry guys, I'm going to pause for just a second. Trying to change some settings on my end. Sorry guys. There we go. Awesome. Cool. All right. I think we're back in business. There we go. Sorry, I'm just kind of not all there tonight. I'm a little tired after work. Oops. As you can see. I thought I was hiding it so well. I don't care anymore. I'll just go with cream. I don't know if I mentioned this a lot, but I'm actually a huge fan of Saturn era Sonic. Like, I think that was kind of when Sonic Team and Sega didn't really have anything to prove as Sonic, and you know, since he didn't really have much of a presence on the Saturn, I feel like this was especially true. I think that you kind of saw the purest form of him because you know, he wasn't there to push hardware. Really, he wasn't there to be a tech demo for the tech possible, or you know, the techniques possible on the Saturn console. You just kind of saw what Sonic was at that time without really adding anything else or subtracting anything else. Just kind of felt like a natural progression for the character. Like in all regards, you kind of started to see a little bit of a hybrid design, a little bit of a kind of classic style aesthetic, but applying some more, you know, realistic textures and stuff, kind of giving it almost kind of like a proto what you would eventually see Seaside Hill do with its level textures. I'm glad that I have some other Saturn Sonic fans in the chat. Warms my heart. My wife is snickering at me. I'm not too surprised that Cream hasn't shown up in a while. You know, she's a pretty second string character. I like Cream, but you know, she's, when it comes down to most popular, I don't think she's winning any popularity contests. Actually, I'm going to do the Rouge stage. I always thought that one was kind of cool. The idea was cool. Also, I love that they put in the effort to put different times of day in the challenge stages. If I remember right, I think I heard people saying that the original version of this that the original challenge stage for this was broken. Was this the one that apparently soft locked the game at one point? I played it a couple of times while testing the mod, and I didn't run into that, so I'm assuming that if that was the case, that it's patched. But there we go. Ring, ring, ring. It's now kind of dawning on me how weird it is that Rouge is trying to seduce robots. I was just thinking about it mechanically before, but now I can't not think about how weird this actually is. Or just how weird Rouge is in general as a Sonic character. Come on. This guy's recovering quick. Probably didn't need to get all of them. Probably could have made a good jump, but whatever. I guess we could call that Traveler's Tale Sonic. Leg dig. That's about as accurate as of a title as Saturn Sonic, because you're right. I mean, I don't think that besides like the Christmas Nights and Sonic World and Sonic Jam, the only standalone Sonic titles were developed by Traveler's Tales, at least in part. So that makes sense. What's up, Gamer Guide? Shroom says this level is better than the entirety of Forces. That is unfortunately very true. I actually had to pay attention to that level to not screw it up. I just realized that I totally spaced on getting the key from the last one, didn't I? Herp-a-derp. There we go. Where am I tonight? I'm sorry, guys. I'm just super scattered. Trying to remember where that key is. Boom. All right. Time for a little bit of shadow action. A little bit of shadow action. Woo. My wife is not a Sonic fan, but she just quoted Cold Steel the Hedgehog to me after I made that voice. That's when you know you found the one. As a Saturn fan, was I really happy in the late 90s with the late 90s character designed airbrush aesthetic comeback for Sonic Mania? That was a question from Inkwell. Absolutely. I loved Mania's overall aesthetic. I think Tyson Hess's animations at the beginning, his whole thing in Adventures is super good. Tyson Hess understands that classic Sonic is not just supposed to be cute. Because before there was such a thing as modern and classic Sonic, Sonic was just Sonic, and he fully encompassed what the character was supposed to be. But ever since they brought Classic Sonic back, they've kind of relegated Classic Sonic as the cute one, and when he's trying to act serious, it's just like come across as like, oh, that's adorable. And modern Sonic gets kind of the monopoly on the cool stuff. I use cool in kind of air quotes there because I really feel like the way that they handle modern Sonic nowadays just does not come across that way at all. And I think it's fixable. I don't think it's just a cultural thing that culturally we've moved away from what made Sonic cool. I made a video about that a long time ago. Why isn't Sonic cool anymore? And ultimately, my theory is just that the things that made him cool were kind of the way that they treated Sonic's actions and through animations and things like that. Like, you look at Sonic CD, you show someone who doesn't think Sonic is cool, and you show them Sonic CD, that opening cutscene, like, you're gonna be hard pressed to find someone who says, yeah, that's pretty cool. Or, you know, anything where Sonic isn't necessarily talking, or talking very sparsely. Again, like the Unleashed opening, actual gameplay, like, Sonic's actions have always spoken louder than his words. I mean, Sonic's words speak pretty loudly, especially in Adventure 2 Battle on the PC, where the sound mixing was awful. Also, that and the fact that that's what people remember him for now. When people talk about the fact that Adventure 1 has not aged very well, I guarantee you, like, I don't think that Adventure has aged particularly well either from a gameplay standpoint. But when you're talking to casual people who don't know too much about Sonic, when they say that Adventure has aged poorly, they're thinking of the cutscenes. Like, 9 times out of 10, it's just a very it's a very strong perception that modern Sonic has accumulated over the years. I think that voice acting can work, and I think that they can eventually figure it out, but it's a matter of just kind of understanding Sonic's core conceits and making sure that what they do with it works well with the core conceits of the character, and not opposing them, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it. Callum Sparrow is asking if I would ever be interested in making a video about the Sonic Storybook games. Not particularly. I think Black Knight would be kind of interesting to go into at some point, because as far as stories go, it's probably one of the better stories that existed after the adventure titles. But I have no idea where my Wii is, and I never owned Black Knight. I played very little of it, and I played very little of the Secret Rings. I can't remember if I beat that game or not, and I was not a particularly large fan of either of them. I'm not saying no, but it's not. Those aren't games that I'm super eager to talk about. I didn't mean to do that. Womp. This is definitely my favorite boss in the game. Like, hands down, no contest. Not a big fan of the Egg Robot. I think that Egg Dragoon is kind of wonky, and Time Eater we're not even going to talk about. But Perfect Chaos is just like, I would love to see more bosses like this in the Sonic games, where it's like kind of a combination. It's not really even a boss, it's a zone. It's kind of like its own self-contained mini zone. And, you know, the goal ring is just Chaos's brain, basically. That's how this boss treats its boss fight, and I love it. I want to see this capitalized on in the future. And this remix of Open Your Heart is as dope as it gets. I'm willing to boost like a maniac here, if only just to kind of get that original Supersonic feel. If I start belting out music, it's because I've forgotten that you guys are there. And I apologize in advance for when that inevitably happens. It's a very good thing that his world is not going to be playing in this playthrough, because even if I do remember that you're there, I probably would not be able to restrain myself. Or Endless Possibility. Those are bangers. Oops. I almost thought I screwed that up. Oops. Man, I love this area. What was Goose's question? I don't know. So Geese asked, do you think that Forces has ruined all good faith in the boost formula, or can Sonic Team bring it back with good level design? Anything can be saved with good level design, with good game design. Again, nothing is inherent. I don't think that there's been very many inherently bad ideas in the Sonic series. It can be fixed. I think the problem is that whether or not that is an intentional goal of Sega and whoever they have developing the games. I think that's what it boils down to, is that making a good game out of the modern formula just may not be a priority, versus doing something as, efficiently as possible, which often comes at the expense of good level design. I think they can turn modern around, but I would prefer to see adventure at this time. To be honest, it took me a really long time to acclimate to the modern formula. I kind of talked about this in the last stream. When Unleashed first came out and I was playing the demo for it, I did not like it. I hated the way that Sonic controlled. I missed how kind of wide open the areas were, because Windmill Isle was the only level in that demo. I didn't realize it kind of expanded out from there. And I liked Rush, which back then that was kind of the big thing about that about Unleashed, was that it was basically HD Rush. But I definitely wanted some kind of adventure redemption after 06 that we've yet to get. I think they could approach that with the modern formula, but again, I'm just kind of... Maybe it's just because I'm old and nostalgic now, but I just kind of want to see that right now. That's where I'm at. Or again, I mean, a hybrid would be my ideal. Low speed control. Oops. Low speed control of adventure. High speed maneuverability of modern. Kind of generations levels taken to the next logical step. Basically, I mean, the first zone of a hypothetical hybrid game should be as good as Seaside Hill Zone Modern, and everything else should just, wow. Everything else should just kind of be orders of magnitude better than that. I know that's probably not realistic, but that's my dream. Damon Dominic is asking if they could fix the Lost World formula. And honestly, I never warmed up to Lost World. I think that it's kind of clunky. I think that people love the idea of the wall running mechanic, and they kind of just forget that wall running already existed in, like adventure titles, even like even in like Generations and stuff. But it wasn't a mechanic. It wasn't a selling point. It just was something that was a natural ability of Sonic's that it made sense that he had it without having to put it on there as a selling point on the back of a box. No large fan of Lost World. I think one of my videos I called it a momentum vacuum, and that is still very accurate. Oops. Having to test all these stages for the mod really gave me an appreciation for all of the modern levels in this game. Like, at first, like, when I was just playing Generations casually before that, I would almost always avoid the modern stages. I would always just kind of go with, I'd basically just stay in the adventure, in the adventure stages, but, having to really appreciate every inch of these levels has given me such a larger appreciation for them and how well they're designed. Like, I could go to any of the modern stages at this point and really enjoy playing them. Like, Planet Wisp for a long time was my least favorite, but just kind of, especially just because so much of it is 2D, but that opening area of Planet Wisp is so good that it almost makes up for it. I'm kind of in the same place, Murasaki, where it's kind of like, I'm sure that, and again, like, I've never owned a Wii U, so the amount of Sonic Lost World that I've played has just been kind of get in, get out as quickly as possible, because I didn't have a lot of time to play it. But I just could not find anything noteworthy or anything that I would like to take from Lost World going forward into a future game. And I think that Sonic Team are kind of aware of that too. I would love to find out the kind of mentality that went into the decision making behind Lost World, where, like, with Generations you had like a critical success. It was lauded by critics and by fans. And why they didn't just run with that. I don't know if it had something to do with the 3-game Nintendo deal that they had going on at the time, or if they were just utterly burnt out by how much effort I'm sure Generations required. But for whatever reason, they decided to take a very sharp left turn. And while I don't think Lost World is necessarily a bad game, just like Forces isn't necessarily a bad game, it's a bad Sonic game. It strays too far away from what little identity you can say that modern Sonic has or was developing with Unleashed Colors and Generations. In Forces, I don't know what to say. I don't know how they went from Generations to Forces. Whoa. Where did my controls go? I cannot move. Oh, there we go. That was weird. I don't know if I disconnected my controller or what. Whoop. Oops. Oh, no. Yeah, I definitely have a greater appreciation for all of the modern levels in Generations now. That said, this is probably my least favorite. Just because I think that it looked better in Sonic Unleashed. Plays better here, looked better in Unleashed. And this came out, what, 3 years after Unleashed? So it felt redundant at the time. Still kind of does now. Music's great, though. And I definitely appreciate how this level is definitely the most unleashed in terms of design. Probably because they were just able to recycle so much of it. Yeah, I think that kind of oh 06 I do consider an adventure game. I consider it the dying gasp of the adventure games, but Unleashed is kind of its own beast. It's kind of like it still had a ton of adventure DNA, but it was just kind of in the fledgling stages of becoming something totally different. Damon Dominic is kind of right. I mean, yeah, it is definitely the Werehog is definitely the most developed alternative gameplay. Classic Sonic, well, is it more developed than Classic Sonic? I guess in terms of depth, that's true. But then you have to ask yourself the question, like, how often do you actually get super into the combo system of the Werehog? It's like kind of an unnecessary amount of depth. Calum Sparrow is asking me if I'm going to see the Sonic movie. The answer to that is I don't know. I'm going to have to see how I feel about the trailer when it launches tomorrow. Let's talk about that. Let's find some solace in each other about this whole situation that we're going to have to subject ourselves to tomorrow. Is anybody in the chat going to be at South by Southwest tomorrow? Because I'm very curious. I'm very curious to see if how you're prepared to prepared to take it. Because I kind of want to reiterate, no one that's involved in the decision making of the movie is going to be at this panel, so taking it out on them is going to accomplish nothing. So don't do it. I mean, be as civil as possible. I'm not saying that you should applaud the trailer when it comes out. I'm not saying that you should in any way, shape, or form imply that you have positive feelings towards it if you don't. But just be civil about it. Like, Aaron and Co. know exactly what they're up against tomorrow too. They're not going to try and, I mean, like, they're out there to sell it. They're doing their job, and there's kind of is what it is. So don't make it any more difficult for them than it needs to be. They have their marching orders. I just don't understand how we got here. I genuinely thought that we were past this point in terms of Hollywood adaptations. Not just the video game adaptations, because like this definitely has more in common with what we saw with the Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Smurfs movie. I thought that we were past that era of Hollywood adaptation where it's just kind of like, oh, let's just get live action hybrid and buddy cop movie. Let's strip away everything that everybody actually liked about this thing and make an original thing no one really asks for. mentality. I mean, I kind of understand because movies aren't made by people; they're made by committee. You know, there's notes. There is. I mean, like unless it's being developed by an auteur or something like in the Marvel situation where you have a very very strong guiding hand in terms of the executive producer, you're going to end up with mush, a mush of I just lost my train of thought. It's not going to be good. I mean, we're at the point now where I feel like I can safely say that. The question is just like how poor will it be? And you know, I can live with mediocre. Anything less than that, though, it's just, you know. Honestly, I think mediocre is probably the best thing that we can hope for the movie at this point. If it's mediocre, people will forget about it. It's not going to become a meme that the internet will never forget, because we have plenty of those already. I'm hoping for mediocre so no one talks about it ever again. We can just move on. Or by some miracle, it being actually good. But I don't want it to be as bad as I fear it's going to be, because then we'll never live it down as Sonic fans. If the Detective Pikachu movie was bad and Sonic was good, I mean, I think we would basically need to be living in a parallel world. Because with Nintendo, they have such a stranglehold on the quality of their products. You know, with a few notable outliers, but for the most part, they know that quality is their brand. Back in the day, back when they were starting with the NES and stuff, that was their platform. Like, you know, this was coming after the crash of '83, where, you know, the entire market was crashed by games that nobody wanted and nobody was buying. Nintendo came in with, you know, that Nintendo seal of approval, and they were all like, hey, like, you're not going, like, this is not going to be a waste of your money. Like, that was their mentality, and that mentality has served them very well. Like, even through the rough times of the Wii U, you really can't say that any one of their games was bad. Maybe just kind of ill-conceived, like Star Fox Zero with the whole kind of convoluted control scheme, but there was nothing inherently broken with it. Like, they don't do broken. Nintendo does not do broken. And I think that is going to be the case for Detective Pikachu as well. I don't think it's going to set the world on fire. I think it's going to be a solid 70-something on Rotten Tomatoes. If that's any indicator. Because, again, it is it's a licensed property being made by Hollywood company. But I'm looking forward to being entertained by it, but I'm not expecting to, like, be blown away by it either. I love the Sonic OVA. Sorry, I'm kind of going back and forth again. But I can't see who asked that, but I love the OVA. Just kind of the overall style of it. I like that they're not afraid to make Sonic kind of Sonic is a douchebag in that movie. He is irreverent. He I wouldn't even say lazy, but he is kind of willing to be whatever about stuff unless it really is serious. But that's the thing. Like when things are serious and when he knows they're serious, he gets serious. You know, he was brushing Tails off like nothing when he thought that Tails was just being annoying. But as soon as he knew that Tails was in trouble, he was just like, I am, you know, he was in hero mode. I like that, you know, duality of Sonic's character. And I think that that's the big thing that modern Sonic misses, is that they make him, you know, he's either kind of a caricature of 90s cool or he's, you know, generic hero. They kind of forgot that edge. Yep, leg dig. I'm hoping for like better controls lead to better level design, I think, because if the level design is built around the controls, then the better the controls, I think that you're going to get something a little more solid. I'll tell you what, I love the Sonic OVA so much that as a kid I memorized it. I still have the entire movie memorized. If you challenge me to, I could probably repeat it verbatim. I don't think you want me to, but I think that I still have that skill. It came in a lot of handy when I was growing up. When I was in like class or something, somewhere I did not want to be, I would just throw Sonic OVA on in my head, and I was good to go. Because it was almost exactly an hour, so I knew that I could kill at least an hour just going through that. I like this remix a lot too. They kind of do something really cool with combining the different parts of the original song and the original areas of the zone, the different themes that came along with it. Besides the fact that Classic Sonic was in Forces, I will definitely say that the worst part of Forces was probably Classic Sonic's soundtrack. I don't really understand what they were going for there. I just realized that I'm getting close to having to do the stupid time eater. I gotta do Egg Dragoon first. Oh, that... Man, those last two bosses definitely are kind of like the low point of this game for me. Jeez. Oops. Whoa. Whoa, hey. That was my controller getting disconnected. Come on. What just happened? It totally just tossed me out. Oh, let's see 1 second. I think I'm going to have to restart the game, guys. For some reason, it just decided to disconnect me for a second, reconnect, but now my controller is not responding at all. So I'm going to restart the game. Let me put on something pretty to watch in the meantime. How's it actually going to show up? The weird thing with OBS for me is if I open up an application after I have OBS started, for some reason it doesn't register that it is. It doesn't register it. I basically have to have OBS closed before I open anything in order for it to come up. Looks like I lucked out this time, though. I don't know what I did differently than what I was doing before, but whatevs. Back to the grind. Everybody thank my wife for me for bringing me a Red Bull, because I was about ready to... I've been in a slog all night. This might just single-handedly save me. So the people in the chat saying that Tyson Hess isn't a writer, he wrote Sonic Mania Adventures. He is a writer, and if you've been a part of the if you've been following his career for a long time, like I have, you'll know that he was doing a series once upon a time called Boxer Hockey, where it was an ongoing webcomic for a really long time. He's a writer. Trust me, he is more than capable of writing. And as a lifetime Sonic fan, I would imagine that he would also, you know, he has a fan perspective on what fans would be looking for as well. That said, you know, Ian Flynn just has more experience with it. I mean, he's been doing this for well over a decade now, which is crazy to say because I remember when he first took over. I was consistently reading the Archie comics back in 06, 07 when he started. I think that he started with, what was it? It was right after 150, right after the 150 mark at some point in that area. I want to say it was the early 150s that he started. And he only improved from there. But that was during a time where I was kind of going through a period where I wasn't caring about the series as much. Pretty much from Sonic Battle through Sonic Colors, I was kind of on and off again with the series for a really long time. I was, you know, in late high school and early college, and I just didn't care too much. What actually got me back into the series and into the fandom was I was like, you know, I've heard really cool things about Sonic fan games. I wonder if I can find anything. So I just did a Google image search of Sonic fan games, and the one that caught my attention was one called Sonic Classic. If any of you remember that, by Hez. And Hez was I think still is a regular on Sonic Retro. But his fan game looked so good, it actually got me involved in Sonic Retro. And that was really the first time that I ever got integrated with other Sonic fans. Like, outside of that, I was just kind of a fan solo, and a couple of my friends who tolerated my obsession. But Retro is the first time that I actually was kind of in touch with other members of the fan base. I say in touch and not actually a member of, because, like, even though I've been a member of Sonic Retro for years and years and years, I never really felt like I was particularly notable to any of them. Just kind of like, oh, it's, just another rando who's been here for a really long time, but don't think that I ever really upped my profile there in any way. That was actually one of the main reasons I made the Sonic Forces video to begin with, is because when that first Sonic Forces trailer dropped, and when that first gameplay dropped, everybody on that forum, was talking about their opinions on it. And if you've been in any mega thread, if you've been in any Sonic, or just any forum in general, when there's big news or something like that, it just turns into an echo chamber. Everybody's just kind of throwing their own opinion out there, and they're not really reading their own. And I was in the same boat, but I was trying to read other people's opinions too. But I definitely thought that I had some things to say that I didn't think people were paying attention to, that I thought would be worth discussing. I'm like, well, if I can't get noticed here, maybe I'll just try putting a YouTube video together, and maybe that'll make some people aware of some of these things that I feel about what I'm seeing about Sonic Forces. And so put it out, and turned out a lot of people did. That's still my most successful video. That's sitting pretty at a little over 300,000 views, I think, and it's all been downhill from there. I don't care, though. I like doing this. I talked about this in the last stream too. I really don't care that I'm not, a huge YouTuber or anything. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy learning new technical skills, like learning how to stream. Making the videos for my channel is single-handedly taught me a ton about video editing and learning Adobe Premiere and After Effects, both of which I use for my day job too. And so the fact that I have a place where I can practice these skills and get better at them helps me in my real life too. So it's worth doing for me, even if I never get another view on something. Ian Flynn debuted in Archie Sonic issue 150. Thank you, Callum. Appreciate it. Slashy is saying, can't stand IDW. The pacing is terrible, and the storytelling in general isn't very good. I'm withholding judgment, because again, I know that Ian Flynn is capable of fantastic stuff. I will say though that I'm in a place where IDW, I think this first run is purely just setting up world, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt there. I think that, for me, it definitely it's been feeling a little bit rushed, and kind of, introducing, Tangle, introducing Whisper, and all this stuff, and all of a sudden, Metal Sonic, Neo Metal Sonic is, gone super and taken over Angel Island. Like, you would think that would get you a little bit more involved in the stakes of the story, and it didn't fully draw me in. I'm like, I should care about this more than I do. But again, I think that this is purely this is getting the book up to speed, and the premise of the new series, the premise of the infection arc, is sounding very promising to me, and so I'm not giving up on it yet. It's just like, we're still in the first 12 months, guys. Like, we need to be willing to give it a little more time. Long form comics are not something that I think that you really have the ability to gauge until they've gone for at least a couple of years. My favorite Sonic tuber? Oops. Boy. I don't know if I have like a favorite Sonic tuber. There's definitely like groups of Sonic tubers that I watch. I more like the analytical YouTube channels, not necessarily. I don't really watch a ton of Sonic tubers really. I watch a lot of analytical stuff that I probably found through Sonic. So like I really like King K. He's one of the newer ones that I've really enjoyed watching. Geek Critique is one of the, other retro goers that actually got me originally interested in attempting to do my own channel. He does some great stuff. There's plenty more. The stupid thing about being willing to start name dropping is the fact that, there's people that I don't name drop that I really do like are gonna feel bad, and I apologize in advance. I might just stop there. Those two are good. I mean, Shay May, obviously, like his Sonic Spitball is still, in my opinion, the quintessential Sonic analysis. But the thing with all those YouTubers is that, they've done Sonic in the past. They may have primarily focused on Sonic in the past, but they've branched out. As for me, like, which I really appreciate. And I've considered branching out as well, start trying some different stuff. But the more I've tried to do that, the more I've realized that the only series that I really am passionate enough about to put the effort in is probably Sonic, and maybe a couple of others. Like, I think that it would be healthy for me to branch out a little bit and try some other game series, or maybe not even game series. I'm also a really big fan of specific types of music that I would love to kind of cover at some point too. Just for my own personal growth, it might be beneficial. But obviously, I just collaborated with Gamer Guide, and I watch Premi, I watch Twip. Some newer YouTubers that I haven't subscribed to yet, but like I've been more in the habit of going to the home page on YouTube instead of just going to my subscription pages and finding new stuff. So I've been seeing a lot of stuff lately that I just have not quite subscribed to yet, but there's a ton of really cool stuff out there. If I didn't name drop you, I apologize, and it's not because I don't like your stuff. But there's a lot of Sonic tubers. Vast majority of them are way better than I am. More consistent about putting stuff out too. So Cybershell, yeah, that's a good idea. If you know any really good Sonic tubers or YouTubers in general, name drop them in the chat, because I think that you guys are probably more knowledgeable about the Sonic tuber community than I am. Yeah, I've watched Bonnie. Yep. Who did that video? It's like all the Sonic first Sonic levels or something. Bunny something. Radical Soda is funny. For sure. And this is definitely my least favorite classic Sonic level in the game. But again, fantastic remix. And also the theming of this level I love too, because it's like they make it kind of like the traditional classic Sonic factory end level, but it's got a little more going for it because Playin' Wisp is kind of that really cool hybrid thing that Super Mario Odyssey totally stole. But on the same token, Mario Odyssey kind of did it better, so I'm not going to complain. Oops. I think I said this on Twitter at one point, but Mario Odyssey is the best Sonic Adventure game we never got. In a lot of ways. Oh yeah, let's talk about the Wisps for a second and how much they should just go away. They were a really fantastic idea in colors, because they suited the purpose of trying to, for some reason my Y button is not working very well right now. They suited the purpose of making other optional paths available, but kind of with everything else in the attempt to streamline them, they've lost that original purpose, and they're just kind of unnecessary bloat on the series. That is pretty notorious for unnecessary bloat in a lot of different ways. There we go. I don't know why I was having so much trouble. Oh, I already had one. Oh, another really good analytical YouTuber I was just thinking of was Exo Paradigm Gamer. Really good. I've mentioned before that I've really never had a problem with the Knuckles treasure hunting stages, but I'm not one of the people that could, like, give you, you know, kind of evidence besides it's an opinion about why I don't think that they're that bad. He tried. I mean, like, he put together a multi-hour analysis of all of the Knuckles and Rouge levels of Sonic Adventure 2. And, you know, as empirically as you can get, but, like, you know, even he admits that, you know, whoa, whoa, what did I do? How did I, yikes. I've never seen this happen before. Yowza. The funny thing is that Modern Adventure doesn't even affect Classic Sonic. Maybe I manipulated a Wisp. That's weird. But, yeah, he, just based on amount of time, based on how obscure the hint markers are, level design, stuff like that. Really cool analysis. Recommend it. Oops. I will say that definitely the weakest aspect of Classic Sonic in this game is the fact that his spin loses speed. Kind of totally defeats the purpose of Classic Sonic. But I feel like I'm missing something. Am I supposed to get another pink wisp here? Interesting. Okay. Yeah, guys, once I'm done with Generations, let me know if you'd like to see me stream another game, or if you'd prefer, like, I could do the Unleash project, or I can do the 06 project in Generations as well. The only thing I'll ask is that, for the sake of my own laziness, that it be, you know, either Adventure DX for PC, Adventure 2. I can do CD. I can do Sonic 4, honestly, if you really want me to. You know, I take that back. You know, screw it. I mean, I can play plenty of stuff on off my PC as well. But classic games are probably fine. I will say though, even though I don't like classic Sonic spin, I do like the fact that his spin dash kind of reminds me of Adventure's overpowered one. Nostalgic. I hate nostalgia patterning, but it's only because it works. And that isn't it. That's not nostalgia pounding, though. I just conflated two different things. I seriously doubt they were like, let's bring back this spin dash, because I think that people are going to find that very, very soothing in a very nostalgic way. Pretty sure that was not their mentality. It's more like, hey, this solves a practical problem. Oops. It's all about how it's framed. Night Shrooms, thanks for stopping by. Have a good night. Oops, that was a mistake. That didn't feel like level design. That felt like I think it is, but it really didn't feel like it. It almost felt like a mistake. And there we go. Droid in forever, 365. Yep, you're right, because it's the classic stuff. But don't worry, we're about to get back to the modern right now. Even though it's a boss, and even though it's not a particularly good boss. It could be a good boss. My problem with it is just kind of this section, the 3D sections are kind of on rails a little bit. It's hard to describe. It's like it definitely pulls you into specific lanes. Oh, I gotta do this stuff first. Well, there's a little bit of regular modern Sonic action before we have to go to Egg Dragoon at least. And I love you, random citizen. Please tell me you guys got that reference. Please tell me I'm not so old that that just went totally over everyone's heads. I'm just looking for a regular speed one. What's this one? Nope. Yeah, I'm not gonna deal with that yet. I will definitely say that I think that Modern Crisis City probably feels the most like a traditional adventure game. Like Modern Seaside Hill feels like an adventure level on steroids. This one just feels like a traditional adventure level, which I really like. There's a lot of platforming, but it's not like blocky platforming. Also, I just want to point out this area was really tough for me because for some reason Classic Sonic's physics, which is the basis for modern adventure physics, would not let modern Sonic go through that loop. And so that was the reason that I created the masked patch inside Modern Adventure to fix scripting in certain levels. This was one of the first ones that I tried because I got the idea for doing Modern Adventure from a YouTube video I found where someone just straight up put Classic Sonic's physics into Modern Sonic without manipulating it too much. And so that gave me the idea that maybe if I could change the parameters of Modern Sonic's physics a little bit, that I could kind of come up with a happy medium. But in that video, the guy ran into the exact same issue where the loop would not work. And so that was when I realized that I had to actually go into the scripting of each level wherever there was an issue and fix it in terms of the level and re-export the level itself. That pure physics were not going to be able to make it work. I don't really know why either. I don't know why that loop functions the way that it does. But for whatever reason, it was a game breaker. But it's not anymore. Like, the only thing since I've finished this up that I've run into is just on that stream before where the one Green Hill challenge stage, that spring still does not function perfectly every time. That's the only technically game-breaking thing that I've run into since I finished the mod. And then, even then, it's optional and it doesn't always fail, which I think someone could tell you that's probably worse than failing 100% of the time, because that means it's an inconsistent issue. which is probably true. But at the very least, every level in this game is 100% completable with Modern Adventure, and I'm pretty proud of that because that was a very time-consuming process. Prediction on the next mainline Sonic game. I don't know if an adventure remake could be considered a mainline since it would be, a remake, but I think that I still feel like that's probably going to be the one that comes next. I think that Sega and developers of Sonic could have a lot to glean from going back to that early attempt and kind of understanding the decisions that were made and understanding which decisions can be capitalized on and which ones can be reworked into something better. There's a lot of potential for future games after that. Yeah, again, it's funny how little kind of expectations I have for the next mainline Sonic game if it's not a remake. Like, not that sounds derogatory. I don't mean for it to. It's just like I have zero idea where they would go. Like, would they continue on with the modern formula after Forces kind of sputtered out? Would they, I would hope that they wouldn't just rest on Classic Sonic, because as much as I love Classic Sonic, I want to, 3D modern Sonic has to exist too, or 3D Sonic in general. They can coincide. I want them to coincide. Consolidate them if you have to, but I mean, there's good in 2D Sonic, there's good in 3D Sonic, and if the flavor of 2D or the flavor of 3D is getting in the way of it, you can just kind of wrap them all up into one and then just do each one as best as you can. But if Sega can do both of them and still keep, classic and modern delineations, then that's fine too. I just want good games. That's ultimately what it boils down to. I could care less about the window dressing. That's all classic and modern is. Everything else is just preference. I don't know why I find the quick step so cool in situations like that. It's just like, it literally is just rule of cool. Like, feels good to quickly sidestep in those situations. I don't think we're going to get a new game announcement tomorrow, but if we do, I still plan on holding true to my promise that I will, play Sonic Blast. I actually have a plug-and-play version of that game that I found at a used game store here in town. I have not plugged it in yet. I don't know if it works, but my plan is to use that if it functions. If not, I'll figure something else out. But I will hold true to that if that is the case, and I would consider an adventure remake a new mainline Sonic title, so that would technically count. And also, considering they're going to have to unveil the movie trailer tomorrow, it would make a lot of sense for them to have a new game announcement just to kind of cushion the blow. So here's what I think is, this can go one of a few different ways, and because as far as I know, they're probably still going to have a Q&A. And if they have a Q&A, they're either going to have to do it before the trailer is announced, or they're going to have to not do one at all. Because if they do one after the trailer is really revealed, it's just going to be chaos. But if they do have a new game to announce and they do that, then that just might be enough to take away the harshest of feedback. And if any of you are still holding out hope that about that story that came out, that the leaks of the in-film model and stuff are not final, like, they may not be final, but that does not mean that that's not the final design. It just means that the model may not be like fully rendered out. Like maybe there's additional effects, like, you know, fur effects or something that they haven't added yet, but that is what we're getting, more or less. It's just going to be, you know, more of it. So make your peace with that. That was another piece that I had to fix and mask, that spring section. It was kind of the same thing as the Green Hill issue, where the springs would just send you off into nowhere. Just a lot of like little tiny tweaks that had to be made to make this thing work in its entirety. I think it's spent probably a solid 2 months on that thing. I mean, like, I didn't log my hours on it or anything, but it was definitely, it was basically, I came home after work and I worked on this mod. And then I released 1.0, got feedback from it, and then it was, you know, all-encompassing again until I released 1.1. And at that point, I'm just like, it's time to move on. Like, I've obtained from this all of the self-gratification that I can. Everything else is just going to be splitting hairs. So if any of you are waiting for another revision or anything like that, I'm sorry, it's probably not coming. I decided to move on. This functions. It's, you know, again, it's not perfect, but it considering the fact that I can't, I'm still a novice at coding, and the fact that these are all, mods as opposed to actually having access to the real code of the game. It's about as much as I'm willing to do, because doing anything else would just be kind of like diminishing returns. Like, there's probably things that I could do to improve it, but the amount of improvement that there would be versus the amount of work that would go into it is probably just not worth it. For me, anyway. Or maybe I'm just lazy. I'll never tell. There. Sorry I went quiet for a little bit. I kind of forgot that I was in a race against this guy. I'm just trying to make up time. Bam. Let's see. Catch up on chat. Inkwell, they might reveal the new animation tomorrow. If that's the case, that would probably do a pretty good job at cushioning the blow too. I'm very curious to see where that one goes, who's involved in it. I hope that Tyson Hess and his team are involved in it, but we'll have to see. Will we ever get a modern Sonic game the same level as Infinity War in terms of stakes and length, and also similarities would be nice? I don't think so. I just think that, again, I think that over the course of the years, the adventure games were kind of like an experiment for what type of tone would work with Sonic. And I think that ultimately what it boils down to is Sonic the Hedgehog is a 3-foot-tall cartoon blue hedgehog, and that self-seriousness really isn't a good look. I think that the closest you can get to self-seriousness is kind of like anime cool, which is what you see in, like the OVA, Sonic CD, things like that. Again, things where it's not taking itself seriously, it's just really cool situations. Sonic looks good in motion, he's doing cool things, he's beating up on robots, he's, just acting, nonchalantly about stuff. I think that, as long as, attention is paid to kind of keeping his characterization good, you don't necessarily need an extravagant story. You definitely don't need something on the level of Infinity War. You just need a well-told story. You just need a story that is using the characters and the situations in ways that are congruent with them and things that benefit them, instead of trying to shoehorn them into situations and into plots that they're not. there are some people that really do like things like Sonic 06 and what they attempted with that game. But ultimately, I just don't know how compatible Sonic is with that degree of melodrama. The Archie comics tried it for a while too. And I know where a lot of those fans are coming from, because as a kid, I thought that was cool. Because for me, it elevated Sonic from... It was kind of like... what is the word? It made me feel like Sonic was more important than he was, I guess. Like, just like, people are like, oh, it's just a cartoon. I'm like, no, he's nice. He's serious business. Look at these serious things he's involved in. Like, that was me. I totally get that point of view. But as I've gotten older, ironically, I've come to appreciate the fact that Sonic is a cartoon. And cartoons don't necessarily have to mean for kids, because, he's kind of in the same vein as Mario. And Mario's for everybody. Sonic can be for everybody, too. And I think that's a better thing to aim for than for either extreme, either the super cartoony, schlocky stuff that we have in the stories now, or the super self-serious stuff in 06, or the super edgy stuff in Shadow. Like, there is a good core in there somewhere. It just requires a decent story told well. That's all it takes. Guess I better get those keys. I am more tired than I thought that I was. I'm sorry, guys. Just kind of meandering. I'll get to you, Silver. Did I already get all the keys? I honestly do not remember. I'll grab... Whatever, I'll just grab the Chaos Emerald from Silver now, and we'll deal with the rest when it comes. I literally just saw Silver. I forget where he is already. Oh, boy. I'll definitely say this. Silver is the best, most misused character in the Sonic series. It's just a shame that his debut was so botched. He had potential. Still does, but I think that the opportunity to really utilize him well may not come again. Just kind of based on where the series is now. You gotta learn how to Sonic before you can learn how to Silver, if that makes any sense. Oops. Insert Katamari Damacy joke here. Alright. I just chugged a whole ton of Red Bull. Where's that dang key? There it is. Alright, let's get this over with. Eggman, I got the master plan. Alright, alright, alright. I will give it to this boss for being unique, considering they basically had to come up with an entirely new situation from how it was in Unleashed. Because you didn't have a chance to fight the Egg Dragoon as regular Sonic in Unleashed. So this is... So they totally reimagined this boss, which got a lot of respect for it. Just is not the best mechanically. But I think it's time for a change of pace. Oops. Shimon now. Sorry, I'm going silent again, guys. 10-2 with bosses. Ooh. I don't know what made me think of this, but I remember on Retro, when this game was coming out and we first saw the Time Eater, people were freaking out because they thought that the Time Eater was a callback to the pre-prototype images of Sonic from before Sonic 1 even came out. If you look, you can find old sketches of Sonic before Eggman was a thing, before Badniks were a thing. Like, the closest thing to Eggman was, an Eggman-looking guy who was in a bee suit, and there was this big, ominous, shadowy guy behind them. So some people on Retro were thinking that maybe that was a callback to that, kind of prototype footage, and what other kind of references might they have in there. But I don't think that they went for that deep of a pull, to be perfectly honest. Okay, I don't really know what happened there. Change my pace, man. Oh boy. I might be in trouble. Rings. Do not kill me. Okay, cool. Hey, that wasn't fair. Jeez Louise. No, no. I do not want to do this again. That was my fault, though. Got lazy. I'm sure this boss would be shorter if I was better, but it is what it is. Yowza. I don't usually see that animation for some reason. I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention or if it doesn't usually show. Losing it. I'm losing it. Alright. It's time for real cereal. Go for it. Oops. Would that I could, Basil Corge. Would that I could. Yes. Come on. Do it, you know you want to. Oh, no. No! Oh, don't. Yowza. Okay. I hope you guys can see now why this is one of my least favorite bosses. Not just blaming the boss. I'm blaming the fact that I am not good at it. Not the reason why I don't like it. of that. Oh, man. Why is that not a legit hit? Finally. What is it now? Make it into? I doubt it. Yeah, it was too much to ask. Stop teasing me. There we go. Man. That gave me such a headache.
Need some toast?
I would love some toast. Thank you.
Toast?
I love you so much.
It's toast time.
Oh. That was not deserving of an A. I don't know what you're on right now, Sonic Generations, but that was not A material. Whew. I need a breather after all that, so I'm just gonna look at the chat for a bit. So if you guys have any questions, I'm looking directly at it right now. Yeah, I felt like you actually had to earn them in Unleashed, and I can't remember. It's been a really long time since I played Colors, but I remember getting pretty easy high ranks in that one as well. I mean, you can have a story with high stakes. It doesn't necessarily have to be, apocalyptic stakes or anything, but you can just look. I mean, like an example that I go to is, Pixar, where you can have very personal stakes and you can have very well told stories, but they're not kind of out of tone, out of step for the story that they're telling. It really depends on the kind of story you're telling. Speaking as a Sonic fan who used to be very, very invested in this, debate. I can say I personally, at this point, feel like story should be the absolute least important aspect of any Sonic game. There's so many other things that have to be gotten right. And then, if it's a good story, then that should just be the icing on the cake. Sonic Generations, terrible story, really not great writing, really fun game, like well executed in pretty much every regard besides the story. Like a good story should just be that thing that takes a good thing and makes it better. It shouldn't be the core from which everything else is established. Eventually, hopefully, we can get consistent enough Sonic games that over the course of time that can become a more important thing because they have a good solid gameplay basis to build off of. But until that's the case, I think stories should continue to take a back seat. It's just another thing to check off the list. I would love for Sonic to have a good story, but I'd much rather the games be good first. All right, everybody. I think I've had enough of a breather. I think that it's time to. I think it's time to stop ignoring the inevitable and get through the time eater. Whoa. Let's go. Let's go. What a terrible end to an amazing game. Let's not be bashing, guys. Come on. You don't need to, I mean, you don't need to find him funny. But I think that he cares about this community more than I think any other PR person that you're likely to find in any industry. To this day, I still don't fully understand like the rules by which the time meter functions. And so I just continue to boost until something happens. I will say, though, that playing it on PC and being closer to the screen than I was when I was playing Vanilla Generations back when it first came out on 360 makes it a lot easier to see what I'm doing. But even so, it's still just like a terrible... It's just tons of junk just flying all over the place. Sure what happened there.
It's attacking! Sonic, watch out!
What is happening? So I don't home in on him? Man, does not make any sense to me.
Now we'll finish it. That's a homing shot. Careful, Sonic.
Switch and go after the big guy! That looks like a homing shot! Be careful, Sonic!
Is something the matter? Looks like a homing shot. Careful, Sonic.
Whoa. Oops. Where are you?
Is something the
Looks like
matter?
a homing shot. Be careful, Sonic!
Is something the
Looks
matter?
like a homing shot. Be careful, Sonic!
I might die. I'd really love some rings right about now.
Time energy is building up. The time flow will be restored.
Watch out for the laser!
Will I have enough time?
Anything more than that.
How are the secondary characters seeing what's going on, and how are they like able to, like, what kind of readings are they getting where they're like, oh, they're building up time energy, oh, they're charging my laser, give me some of them ding dang rings. That was close. Ooh. Thanks, Tails. Appreciate it. Gonna get some rings.
Watch it, Sonic. How about
Looks like a homing shot. Careful, Sonic!
That was stupid close. Whoa.
don't let your guard down now? Now we'll finish it.
Looks like a homing shot. Be careful, Sonic!
How about this?
That looks like a homing shot.
Watch it, Sonic. We'll end it. Smash your asses.
Whoa.
Press left bumper and right bumper at the same time to combine your power.
Oh yes, the Sonic 4 theme song. Back when they thought they were gonna somehow be able to shoehorn that in and make people like it. We don't talk about Sonic 4 anymore. Oh boy. Yeah, not.
Still warm. Time travel.
It really sucks that the last two bosses of this game are really bad. It's like, it's a terrible cap off to what was a really good game. Like, this is a great game. It's just a great game with a few issues that hold it back. Again, I'm not willing to really kind of put my hat in the ring for why Sonic is the way he is, because we can throw out theories all we want, but ultimately what it boils down to is the fact that we're never going to know the internal workings of Sega. And I do agree that, you know, it's not fair to blame Iizuka or any one person, because, you know, we simply do not know what the kind of business end of Sega looks like, and we never will. So all we can do is kind of, you know, make educated guesses and judge the actual end products on their own merits. I mean, yeah, that's possible, but yeah, we just have no way of knowing. But I'm kind of in agreement that I think that probably is what leads to it, is just kind of I think that there is something that causes it in the corporate structure. Because when you think about it, like, Sonic is the most successful asset that Sega has. Despite that, you see tons of significantly, consistently better games happening, you know, under Sega with different departments. Like, the Yakuza series is consistently really good. In Atlas, that is owned by Sega, you know, they put out Persona 5 under Sega's ownership, and, you know, it's phenomenal. Like, good games are made by Sega, but for some reason or another, Sonic seems to get the short end of the stick, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's simply just because they know what'll sell, so they try to make them as cheaply and efficiently as possible. knowing that they'll still make their money back on it, or you know, there's no way of knowing. The leak, are you talking about the leak where Sonic Team presented the concept for Sonic Forces and it was not met very well? Is that what was going on? I don't know what leak you're talking about. And I'm suspicious of leaks in general, unless they come from, you know, relatively trustworthy sources. Yeah, Bayonetta 2. Whew. It really is kind of interesting, the point that the series is at right now, because I don't know if this is just kind of where I'm at with the series, or if it's just kind of if other people feel similarly, but it's almost like there's we literally have, I mean, usually when there's an event like South by Southwest, even if we know there's not going to be anything major, there's always still that kind of like little tinge of excitement. For me, for the event tomorrow, there's not a lot to be excited for, because we've got kind of that overlooming threat of the movie trailer, and then we'll just kind of be able to assess how bad the damage really is on that. It's a kind of a sad place to be, for being perfectly honest. I am a little optimistic for, you know, Sonic's primary location being SOA. Not necessarily because I don't think that Sega of Japan could do a good job. I mean, like, they clearly gave us Unleashed and Generations and tons of amazing games. But it is kind of nice to have, you know, some major players all consolidated in one spot. And in a spot where Sonic is relatively more successful, you know. He's always been more successful in, you know, the US and in Europe than he has been in Japan. And so kind of having, you know, the people responsible for the decision making being in one of the regions where he is more successful, I think is beneficial. Yeah. I'll check it out. That sounds familiar. I've probably heard it at some point, but I feel like it is, you know, kind of moot at this point. You know, the whys and the whys nots. It just kind of is what it is at this point. Also seems like the budget for the series is being cut since the recent games are launching at lower price points, so I can't really expect any large scope Sonic games anytime soon. But again, I feel like they're not really, I mean, I don't know what Sega's goals are, so I don't know what their frame of reference is for what is deemed a success and not a success. But I think that it is safe to assume that if Forces did not do what they wanted it to, that, you know, anything is possible at this point. All right, everybody. Think I'm gonna call it quits for tonight. As you can tell, I was not like the most high energy today. I thought I was gonna be able to kind of get myself charged up for this, but it was a long day, and I think that it kind of wore on me a little bit. But I had a good time. I hope you guys did too. Definitely going to continue streaming. Probably not once a week or anything like was the situation now, but I'll find time to do this again and hopefully make it a little bit more interesting. I don't think Generations was the best choice of games to be able to chat and play at the same time. So I'll probably find something that I'm a little bit better versed at in the future. But considering this was a 3-hour run for me, and yeah, I think that's pretty solid second time. So yeah, I think I will give my thoughts on South by Southwest tomorrow. I'm actually having a buddy over, and we've kind of talked about the possibility of doing a reaction video. It probably won't be live streamed, but maybe a reaction video for for what we see. He's not a Sonic fan, but we used to live together. Like, he used to be my roommate and stuff, so he is very used to my ramblings and stuff. So I think that he's willing to go along for the ride. So my wife just said he understands it better than she does, and she's married to me, so that's saying something. So yeah, I'll probably do something along that lines, but if I don't, like, my thoughts will definitely be on Twitter. You can definitely find them there. Can I please play as Supersonic once? I suppose I can play as Supersonic once. That is part of the mod as well, is non-automated Supersonic. So I might as well show that off too. Yeah, whoa, that was weird. There's some weird pop in there. Yeah, I'll play Supersonic once. Oops. I'm trying to figure out which level is the best to do this in. Might as well go with my fave. Let's see here. Skill customization. That's something I completely neglected in this playthrough. I did not use skills at all. Don't really have many options. I was gonna do it to his world and get super hype, but it is what it is. Eee. Oh, that was weird. Of all the places that I screw up, that's not generally where that happens. Let's fix that. There we go. Improve my wounded pride slightly. Having this model mod on here with these animations and the way that he kind of like sprawls out after he does a homing attack, I keep expecting to see a Chaos Drive popping out of these robots, and I gotta kind of remind myself that I'm not playing Sonic Adventure 2. Okay. Took a while. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Unfortunately, I think that Supersonic's default is just not default boost is not air boost is not very long, which is kind of obnoxious, but oh, this will end poorly. Whoa, it did not. That was unexpected. Oh, crap. Destiny Lord, I do not know why members of the fandom are the way they are, unfortunately, but I think that it's just kind of one of those things where any type of thing can attract people who are unhealthily obsessed, and it leads to bad stuff happening, and it's sad because especially when it comes to stuff like this, like, you should be able to just kind of like enjoy this. It's a game. That's all it is. It's like, I want this game to be good. I want to be able to enjoy them and not be disappointed by them, but there's no need to be the way some people are about it. There's a line. People need to learn where it is and avoid it. I'm not invested enough in Forces to be willing to try modding it, unfortunately. It's one of those things where it sounds like it's a lot more... what's the word I'm looking for? It's a lot more rigid than Generations. Generations is kind of an outlier that it's very easily moddable. Like, well, easily as in like the people who originally cracked it to figure out how to mod it in the first place, they did a really good job, but it sounds like there's just a lot more tools available to do that than there are for Forces. And so even if I were to mod Forces, I don't think that there's the kind of flexibility that Generations has to be able to make something really good. I think that it's just significantly more limited in terms of what's available for modders to manipulate. So I think it would be a lost cause, because I don't think that there's much that I would be able to do with my limited skill set. Maybe someone more talented than me can do better stuff. I've seen some cool stuff come from the Forces modding community, but I think that Generations is the better choice for modding. Even though the barrier to entry for it is a lot higher, just due to the fact, well, is, you know, high in general, just because you need things like 3ds Max to do stage mods and stuff like that, which I do not have, and I'm not going to dish out the money for. If I can't do it with Blender, then it's not something that I'm really going to commit that much time to. I appreciate it, Destiny Lord. Thank you. I try to do what I can to present my arguments as accurately as I can, but there's ultimately I've got limits and I make mistakes, and I was really happy with my case for consolidation video, but when I brought it up over on Retro, I was rebutted. I had a lot of rebuttals, just and I was made aware of what I didn't originally think were logical fallacies, but I think that there were some logical fallacies in my wow, my brain. There were some logical fallacies in my arguments, and even though I still do believe that consolidation is a good idea, I you know, there's always I can always do better. And I'll continue to try to improve with everything that I do. I'll have to check those out. Forces Reimagined and Forces Overclocked. Sounds cool. I'm pretty done with Forces though. I've revisited it maybe twice since it first came out. I recorded all the footage from my Forces review during my first playthrough, so that way I would not have to pick it up again if I didn't like it, and I have barely touched it again. All the times that I've used Sonic Forces footage since that review have all come from the same playthrough, and I have zero need or interest in going back for it. Plus, I have it on PS4. I don't have it on PC, so I'm not really desperate to dish out the money for a PC version just so I can mod it or play mods. Alright guys, for real this time, I need to call it quits. But thank you so much for stopping by. I'll definitely do this again. I'll definitely do it when I'm a little more awake, a little less prone to the stupidity that you saw during like Egg Dragoon. So all you guys have a good night. You know, prepare yourselves for tomorrow. It's probably not going to be pretty, but whatever. We'll deal with it. All right, everybody. For now, that's all I've got. So you all have a good one.